The Jimmy Butler trade to the Golden State Warriors is one of the biggest moves of the NBA season, marking the end of a tumultuous era in Miami and reshaping the Warriors roster. Below is a detailed breakdown of the trade, its implications, and what it means for the teams involved. Trade details: this was a multi-team trade involving 4 teams: Golden State Warriors, Miami Heat, Utah Jazz, and Detroit Pistons. Golden State Warriors receive Jimmy Butler from Miami Heat, agreed to decline his $52 million player option for 2025-26, will sign a new 2-year, $111 million contract through 2026-27. Josh Richardson, from Miami Heat, solid 3 and D guard to add depth to the bench. Miami Heat receive Andrew Wiggins, from Golden State Warriors, 17.6 ppg, strong two-way player but inconsistent lately. Kyle Anderson, from Golden State Warriors, versatile forward, playmaker, and defensive asset. Top 10 protected 2025 first-round pick, from Golden State Warriors. PJ Tucker, from Utah Jazz, veteran presence and a former Heat player. Utah Jazz receive Dennis Schroeder, from Golden State Warriors, veteran point guard for depth and leadership. Detroit Pistons receive Lindy Waters III, from Golden State Warriors, young, promising shooting guard. Josh Richardson, from Miami Heat, veteran guard with playoff experience. Trade context: why it happened, Golden State Warriors perspective, why they wanted Butler, a desperate need for another star alongside Stephen Curry and Draymond Green struggles to find a consistent second scoring option. Butler brings playoff toughness, elite defense, and clutch scoring. Warriors were looking at Kevin Durant first, but KD declined to return what they gave up. Wiggins, underperforming after helping them win in 2022. Schroeder, not a core piece. Draft pick, protected, meaning they don't lose a top-tier pick. Future outlook: Butler's contract is expensive, but it keeps them in championship contention. They kept young players, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, avoiding a full win-now move. Miami Heat's perspective, why they traded Butler. Butler's relationship with the team deteriorated, 3 suspensions this season. Locker room tension: he walked out after being benched. Heat didn't want to pay Butler a massive extension through age 37. What they got in return: Wiggins, younger, fits Heat culture, but inconsistent. Kyle Anderson, glue guy, good playmaker, draft pick, assets for the future. PJ Tucker, reunion with a proven Miami veteran. Future outlook: Miami avoided paying Butler long-term, giving them flexibility. Still competitive but lost a true star. Utah Jazz and Detroit Pistons role: Utah Jazz took Schroeder as a veteran guard, traded away PJ Tucker. Detroit Pistons acquired depth pieces, Lindy Waters III and Josh Richardson, minor moves, mostly to fill roster spots. Impact on them: Buffer the Warriors' immediate boost, Butler gives them a stronger playoff push. Defensive identity strengthens with Butler plus Draymond Green. Offensive pressure off Curry in clutch moments. Concern: Butler's injury history and high mileage at 34 years old. For the Heat, lose a star but regain balance. Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo become the focal points. Can rebuild around young talent: Wiggins, Herro, Bam, Jovic, Jaquez Jr. Long-term flexibility: avoiding a massive Butler extension. For the NBA landscape, Western Conference gets tougher. Warriors now more dangerous in the playoffs. Miami shifts from contender to playoff team. More moves expected before the trade deadline. Final verdict: who won the trade? Warriors, white heavy checkmark, win now, but risky long-term. Heat, white heavy checkmark, solid return, avoided Butler's contract headache. Jazz and Pistons, white heavy checkmark, minor moves, nothing major. This deal marks the end of Jimmy Butler's Miami era and signals a new title push for the Warriors. It also ensures Miami's future flexibility without completely rebuilding. The Jimmy Butler saga with the Miami Heat ended Wednesday night when he was traded to the Golden State Warriors as part of a multi-team megadeal, sources told ESPN. The Warriors closed the deal for Butler after negotiations to acquire Phoenix Suns star Kevin Durant ended when Durant informed the team he did not want to return to Golden State, sources said. The Warriors, Heat and Suns had been nearing an agreement on a trade that would have landed Butler in Phoenix and Durant back where he won championships in 2017 and 2018. As part of the agreement, Butler will decline his $52 million player option for next season and is planning to sign a new 2-year, $111 million deal that carries through the 2026-27 season, sources said. The Warriors will send forwards Andrew Wiggins and Kyle Anderson plus a top 10 protected 2025 first-round pick to the Heat. Sources said. Also, guard Dennis Schroeder, acquired by the Warriors in December, will be sent to the Utah Jazz. Utah will ship forward P.J. Tucker, who played with the Heat in 2021-22, to Miami. Guard Lindy Waters III will go from Golden State to the Detroit Pistons and Josh Richardson will go from Miami to Detroit. Editors' picks: Is Golden State better with Jimmy Butler? Is Miami better without him? 5 questions on what happens now. 7 NBA Insiders Futures Odds, how Jimmy Butler trade changes Warriors odds. 29 ESPN betting grades for every NBA trade. Does Kuzma make the Bucks better? What are the Mavs thinking? 1H Kevin Pelton. There were a number of other parameters in the deal the teams were still ironing out Wednesday night. The trade was agreed to while the Heat were playing against the 76ers in Philadelphia and the Pistons were hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Warriors coach Steve Kerr called a team meeting to inform players just before they played against the Jazz in Utah. The Warriors, who had been looking for another star ahead of the deadline, now have a 6-time All-Star in Butler to pair with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. While Wiggins was the team's second leading scorer at 17.6 points per game and one its best defenders guarding guards and bigger forwards, Butler should be an upgrade. The Warriors have desperately needed a dependable second scorer to alleviate pressure from Curry, especially in clutch time. Butler averaged 20 points or more in the 4 seasons prior to this season. He and Green should also form a formidable defensive duo for Kerr. Wiggins went through his pre-game warm-up before the Jazz game, but upon walking back to the locker room, he was greeted and dapped up by an assistant coach, a Warriors security guard, and Curry. When he got back to his locker stall, a couple of players walked over to him to shake his hand. Then minutes later, the Warriors' locker room was closed to the media during regular availability so Kerr could address the team. Players like Curry, who was on the court warming up, were brought back into the locker room for the closed-door meeting. About 15 minutes later, Kerr emerged from the locker room with his head down and Curry went back onto the court to resume his warm-up. A few weeks ago, Kerr and Curry said they did not want to see the Warriors organization make any desperate trades that would mortgage the team's future in an attempt to win this season. Kerr reiterated that about a half hour before he addressed the team behind closed doors. Feel the exact same way, don't do anything crazy, Kerr said. We are not in that position. I think it is important for every organization to know where they are and understand the circumstances, and then you see the possibilities. Draymond, Steph and I have talked about this privately. We have talked about this with Mike Dunleavy Jr. There is a responsibility to the organization to do the right thing and to not beg for some crazy trade that is going to put the next 10 years in jeopardy. To Kerr's point, the Warriors held on to young prospects like Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski, 2 players they were reluctant to give up last summer when they explored deals for Lauri Markkanen and Paul George. Golden State did lose some of the depth that Kerr has touted all season long. But the Warriors went into their game at Utah in 10th place in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, the blockbuster deal concludes a drawn-out divorce between Butler and the Heat. Miami suspended him 3 times this season, twice for conduct detrimental to the team and once after he missed a team flight. His most recent suspension began on January 27 after he left shoot-around following news that he would be coming off the bench for Miami's next game. The Heat announced that the indefinite suspension would last at least 5 games, which took things up to Thursday's deadline. Butler hasn't played since January 21.